Time right now is 9:08. You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. And this morning, Mecklenburg County Sheriff Garry McFadden returns today for a continuation of our conversation about immigration in Mecklenburg County. Since we last spoke, the suspect in the most recent Katz light rail stabbing, Oscar Solizarno, we've learned that he was deported twice before by ICE. The sheriff here now. And Sheriff, thanks again for coming in.
You're welcome. Welcome.
So let's talk about what happened on the light rail. We know that Oscar Solizarno was deported twice by ICE. How did this happen?
So when we said they are deported twice by ICE, that is correct. So what ICE does is deport these individuals under the criminal law or criminal aspect. They are not criminally charged. So simply putting a person on a bus, transporting them back to their country, and dropping them off. The key thing that we need to understand is that most of the time these individuals have state pending charges. Whatever state they're in, they have state pending charges, and ICE take them out of state custody and deport them. This is a great example. So when they deport them both times, it shows that the current deportation is not working. And so this is why it's important for us to all come to the table and try to work out a better solution for immigration. Now, when this person came back the second time, ICE could have charged him with re-entry after deportation, which is a criminal charge. Then that would put him into the criminal aspect in the court system instead of the civil aspect. Now, because of this third re-entry or stabbing, now ICE will probably have now charged him with re-entry after deportation, which is a correct charge that he should be charged with.
Okay, so what are we missing then in the system that it should have been done correctly from the beginning?
Well, there's no judicial oversight. It's basically ICE is picking these people up on civil charges. That means that they have no judicial oversight. Nobody has signed a warrant. It's just a person is being identified, lack for a better word, being profiled, taken into custody or detention, and then deportated back to their country. All of this is causing taxpayers money. Now, what is going to happen in the future is a lot of these people who are being deported with state pending charges will go back to their country and return. If ICE has not communicated with the state law enforcement agency and the judicial system, these individuals could come back with order for their arrest pending. So meaning they would have an outstanding warrant for their arrest because they did not go through the judicial process in court, which means they will be back into the system and the taxpayers of each state will be paying for them for the housing and the delay of them not going to court on the order for their arrest.
All right, so we've seen now 2 stabbings in 4 months in the Charlotte area, again putting our public transit safety system in the spotlight with bigger issues, the big one being ICE and immigration enforcement versus, Customs Border Patrol. Talk to me, how do the agencies differ in your eyes, how you approach each agency and what your communication is with ICE versus Border Patrol?
Well, there is zero communication with Border Patrol. From day one, never have talking to Border Patrol. We had a issue with communication with ICE for probably 6 years. October 1st, I sent a letter to ICE. October 17th, we've had a in-person meeting, face-to-face. I gave them a memorandum of how they could operate within the guidelines of our protocols at the courthouse and the detention center. So far, that has worked with us. So ICE gives us what they call a heads up if they're coming to the courthouse or they're going to be at the detention center, and that is working much better than it has in the past. But I must point out this, which people get this mixed up. We are not assisting ICE with enforcement. We are not assisting them with law enforcement or enforcement priorities in our cities. So we're not doing enforcement. We're just having better communication.
Okay, but Border Patrol, no, and now there's talks of potentially that they could come back. Like they have said that Charlotte's Web is not over.
Well, when they come back, and if they come back, I'm going to still ask for communication, cooperation, and collaboration. I can tell you that Charlotte will be different. Law enforcement will be approached differently than before, and we will ask for cooperation and communication, hopefully prior to their arrival, because we're going to question what they're doing. A lot of damage was left in Charlotte, a lot of unanswered questions, and nobody to this day know who has been picked up out of the 100 or some people that they potentially claimed that had criminal histories. We do not know that. We can only go on what they are saying, but with no verification and clarification. We're going to ask for that if they return, and as of now, we're going to ask that before they return.
So do you know if they have plans to return?
I believe they will return. The president has an agenda, and he has to make sure that his agenda is being followed. So I believe that we will see them again. And make no mistake about it, we're going to be targeted because we are a Democratic agency or a Democratic sheriff's office under the guidelines of a Democratic governor. So if you look at it, look at how this is being attacked. They are targeting Democratic-run cities. In North Carolina, they are going to target black Democratic sheriffs in each county. Mecklenburg, Durham, Raleigh, and Wake.
Okay, so you've talked to other sheriffs in the state, other law enforcement across the country, and is this a common theme? What are you discussing?
It is absolutely a common theme. No cooperation from Border Patrol. No communication from Border Patrol. When I had a conversation with Chicago, Minneapolis, New Orleans, and some other cities, everybody says the same thing. Zero cooperation. They come into our cities, bring terror, horror, and fear with no cooperation. But they can go on national news and make all the statements that they like about what they're doing and how they're making the city safe. No city that they have been in thus far is any safer. It has caused chaos and fear throughout the United States.
What are there any solutions that you guys that agencies across the country are coming up with as a collaborative?
Well, the solution is communication. The solution is cooperation, and that's what we're going to keep saying. Communication and cooperation. So we're asking for them, but we can't force another agency, a law enforcement agency, to talk to us or even work with us. We can only ask, and a professional ask and a professional courtesy should be granted to the local sheriffs and the local chiefs. Just professional courtesy. That is what we are asking for, and the bottom line is being respected as law enforcement officers. If this does not happen, I can tell you there are going to be clashes against the badges. What I mean, there are going to be law enforcement clashes, and I hate to say this, they could be an incident where someone is hurt because these people are not identifying themselves as law enforcement officers. Only from their outer garments, but we see no badges. We do not see their faces because they're covered. We are simply asking for cooperation and communication.
Okay, so the conversations that you're having these days with other law enforcement, what is actually being said? Because they were in Chicago and California before they came here, and then they went to New Orleans and Minneapolis. So is it just sort of connecting that communication line?
It is connecting the communication lines between law enforcement agencies and looking at what they did in your city so we can call that next city and say, this is what you should expect. Now, some cities are creating ordinance. You know, they can't park their vehicles in garages, and there's going to be some resistance in coming cities, I can tell you, because if you do not work with us, then why should we work for you and give you just free roaming in our cities? So talking to other cities, they will be creating ordinances to deter them from parking their vehicles and assembly. That may not go over well, and it may not hold any weight, but may be put on the table to be talked about.
What do you say to our state leaders and other sheriffs across the state that, you need to talk to us? And have they talked to you? Have they talked to you since?
They have not talked to me since. My door is open. My phone line is up and running. We're just asking for it. When you call them, it goes to DEFCON 0, nothing. When you send an email, it goes to nothing. And so this is the problem that we're having, making the phone calls, but ICE has come to the table and talked to us. I want to make sure that clear, because I said, if you come and talk to us, I'll give you credit. Lawmakers, absolutely not. They will continue to place this agenda in the media about making our city safe. We can look at the past videos. Nothing about these operations is bringing safety to our city. If this is true, what we're asking for, if you want the worst first out of our cities and helping make our cities safe, we can help you. We have outstanding warrants for violent criminals that have allegedly committed crimes that we could serve. If they come to the city and say, let's target your gangs, let's target your violent criminals, but not the lady who is driving down the street with her children and dragging people out of their businesses and homes. So what we are saying is, if you want to make our cities safe, let's be working towards this together. Cooperation. We have outstanding warrants for violent criminals that you could target.
How about the residents themselves, right, in Mecklenburg County? The feeling is still of concern or fear or being profiled or targeted. What do you want to put out there, public messaging for our residents?
Well, we understand the difference between being scared and fear. Scared, for me, is only for a moment. You may be scared to get out of your car because you saw something, but when you see it not to be fearful of, you move on. Fear is a continuation. We want our residents in Mecklenburg County to know this, that the Mecklenburg County Sheriff's Office is here for you, documented, undocumented, citizen, non-citizen, because we still have to serve you if you are a crime victim. We want you to report the crimes. We want you to be good witnesses. We want you to tell us where these things are happening. But what the rhetoric is what the other side is trying to do is make these citizens believe that certain communities want violent criminals in their cities. I can tell you that talking to the residents and the citizens of the community, nobody wants violent criminals in their cities. So what we want to do is still connect the gap with law enforcement, sheriff's office, and our communities, and let's have these conversations and allow us to bridge the gap that has been torn up by Border Patrol and others.
When we talk about accountability and moving forward, someone, again, like Oscar Salazarno, the light rail stabbing suspect, when that has happened and he's been deported twice, comes back, who do you hold accountable? Who should be held accountable?
Well, the Department of DHS, Homeland Security, should be held accountable. This is what they done. This is when they deported him twice, they allowed him to leave the United States without being adjudicated for the current charges that he was charged with. They deported him. This is a failure in the system. Now, they probably will try to correct it now by criminally charging him, but that's a failure in their system. So simply coming together with law enforcement, having these conversations, allowing us in law enforcement to show you some of these gaps would be helpful. Talking to lawmakers who just make these bills and Senate bills and House bills without having a conversation with actual law enforcement officers. Yes, in North Carolina, they have a great relationship with Mr. Eddie Caldwell, who's the executive director of the North Carolina Sheriff Association, but they need to have better cooperation, communication, collaboration with the local sheriffs who have these problems inside their counties and cities. That's what we're asking for.
And when you say that, this becomes a problem because then the detention centers get filled up when the deportation shouldn't, or not the deportation, but someone like a Salazarno, a suspect, shouldn't have been here the second time. Does that really impact the jail system?
Absolutely. Here's why. House Bill 318 was created by the lawmakers in Raleigh that require local sheriffs now to hold undocumented immigrants for an additional 48 hours. That is on the cost of every local taxpayer in your county. For Mecklenburg County, that's $398 per state, $198 a day. So what I have been told recently that Alamance County, which was a strong supporter of 287G and ICE, has now not cooperating with them of housing undocumented immigrants because they are not willing to pay the cost. So now Alamance County decided to say, well, we're not going to hold these people inside our detention centers either. So now we're seeing that not only that the Democratic sheriffs are being targeted, now the Republican sheriff may be targeted or brought to the forefront of immigration. So imagine that we're not having these conversations. We're just going on each day, plowing the fields without any resources, and this is not going to be good for our community and communities across the country.
If this system is broken, how do you operate within its constraints right now?
Well, you operate under the law, and this is why, I am targeted most of the time. I'm simply operating under the law. You will never hear a lawmaker or anyone say this: Sheriff McFadden is not following the law. They're going to have what I classify as word salad. They said he's not cooperating to what you believe I need to do, but I am just simply following the law. When we're talking about detainers and all of that, sure, House Bill 318 has taken care of that problem, to include North Carolina General Statute 162.62 that mandates each and every sheriff in North Carolina, no matter if you're Democratic, Republican, black or white, to cooperate with ICE. So we are mandated to cooperate with ICE, and this is what we're doing. So you will never hear a lawmaker make this statement: Sheriff McFadden is not following the law.
Do you think this can be fixed?
At this point, no, because we are not invited to the table, and who I'm saying we, sheriffs across America. Sure, they may talk to an executive director, sure, they may talk to someone else, but they are not bringing each and every sheriff to the table in our respective communities to have these conversations. Because they are not doing that, this will never be fixed. They will continue to make the public believe that it's working, which I said, the word salad, yes, this is going to make your city safer. We have the worst first. And like I said, if this is the worst first, I hate to see the second wave of people who they're going to arrest. If these people that we have seen are the worst, mothers, fathers, citizens are being dragged from their car, businesses, if that's their worst first, where does the gang members fall in? Where does the true violent criminals fall in to this? If this is what we're seeing as the worst first. Can it be fixed? It could be fixed. It could be a better immigration system if they allowed other voices to be heard and have a seat at the table.
I feel like it's kind of hopeless.
At this point, it is hopeless because we see you go from city to city with no clarification, no communication, and transparency. Let's use that word, with no transparency. If you are arresting people who are violent, let us see it. The people that you arrested in Charlotte, give us that list. Let us see if they are being arrested. Now, when we say, well, they have criminal backgrounds, well, driving while impaired is a criminal offense because you are arrested for it. Yes, show me the murderers. Show me the rapists that you're arresting. Sure, they may get one or two here and highlight that one gang member out of 300. Let's talk about an entire gang. Let's talk about an entire criminal enterprise. Then we can talk about it. Let's see the guns that you have confiscated during these arrests. Let's see the drugs that you were confiscated during these arrests. Let's see the fentanyl that you have seized. Then we can say, yes, it's working. Yes, that's clarity. Yes, that's transparency. But we have not seen that. We continue to hear media overload of how great this is, and simply doing that has given the community a false sense of what really is happening.
All right, Sheriff Garry McFadden, well, thank you for talking to media in this way.
Always.
Frank conversation with you and appreciate it, because I think that's what a lot of our residents and even, just people across the country are lacking sort of this sense of what is it like there on the ground and out in the field, and what are the real challenges out there.
That's great. And everybody has an opinion, and so we're not talking about opinions, we're talking about facts. When I give you this is not my opinion, this is fact. Now, my opinion is that we should have better communication. But that should be a fact also.
All right. Garry McFadden, thank you again, and hope to see you very soon.
Very soon. Thank you.
All right. We'll be right back here on Live Impact News on WCNC+.